Welcome to the Gunning Truth YouTube episode 2. I'm Ronnie, podcast host, personal trainer, and I'm here to discuss and deep dive into everything Arsenal. I think it's very important that I wear the old school Arsenal shirt today because I think Arsenal is heading to their first title in some time. Obviously, we've got some tough games to go, and I'll deep dive into one of those key fixtures, which will take place Easter Sunday. It's actually a biblical day for Arsenal Football Club. So let's see what we do. But first and foremost, I just want to say once again, thanks to all the people that's been watching. I haven't had comments yet, but obviously, you are welcome to leave me a comment or get in contact with me should you want to be on the show, or if you just want to ask a question or two. But I think this has been quite a good start so far. A brand new channel. There are millions and millions of channels out there, and I think I'm not doing too bad as a startup. The show today, the Gunning Truth. So I don't have a guest today, so I'll be going solo for today. I'll be reviewing the Arsenal Leeds game that took place last Saturday. Clocks went back, so 4 o'clock kickoff in South Africa. And then something that's very close to my heart, the Arsenal women's team. Very successful team. Unfortunately, in South Africa, it doesn't seem like there's awareness because we all seem to be focused on the men's team and then obviously the juniors as well, the academy. And all those teams I try to promote on my podcast. My podcast every Friday afternoon on Spotify, around about 3 o'clock, it becomes available. So tune into that as well. If you don't know about it, I will promote it at the end of the show. So for today, looking at the Leeds game, looking at the women's game, having a look at the title race, some snippets there, and then obviously the Liverpool Arsenal preview. I think that's going to be a absolutely huge game. It's going to be a humdinger. And at the end of the day, we want Liverpool to put their best foot forward. And obviously, Arsenal as well. We've had some hammerings. And I will look into games that we've had against them before in my preview. But let's have a look at the Leeds United game. I thought Arsenal were really good on the day. I thought we obviously started a little bit slow. We can look at it as, if you want to make excuses, the international break was there for all to see. And obviously, Man City as well. They also started a little bit slow. They were 1-0 down to Liverpool, and then Liverpool started to show their away character. So don't want to get too much into Liverpool because they are good at home. However, their away form isn't great. So Liverpool did start well, first 20 minutes as well, and then obviously the exact same result that Manchester City had as Arsenal did. So at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal against Leeds United. So on the left, my slide, obviously we know the score is 4-1. 35th minute penalty. Gabriel Jesus won the penalty himself with a little bit of trickery in the box. So obviously not much going for Arsenal up until that stage. And then it was very, very good to see that we've got moments players, as well as players that over a period of a game is able to portray their talents. And in this case, I thought Jesus and then Trossard in the second half, moments players. And Arsenal haven't really had moments players. You can look at it as, yes, we did. Aubameyang, moments player, not somebody that over a period of a game, has like bursts of play, but more moments. And that's where Aubameyang used to be good back in the day. And then Özil and these type of players as well. So moments players versus players that can play the entire game at a particular intensity. That's sometimes what you need in your team. I think that's what happened with Man United, where Cristiano Ronaldo scored all their goals. So it was more moments than a team. They're becoming more of a team now, and that's why they've been doing well. But enough of them. Anyway, Koch got a yellow card. I can't even remember what he got it for. And then obviously halftime 1-0. So my feelings at halftime were good to get the goal, vital to get the goal, because I thought that Leeds United had a couple of opportunities. I won't say huge opportunities that would obviously affect the expected goals ratio, but they were in the game, in my opinion. And then halftime came, and then obviously the boys came out. And once again, I think I heard on one of the podcasts that I follow, must have been Arsblog. where I heard that Arsenal are the best team, and then Man City as well, around about 45 to 60 minutes. So that means that after the half has ended and they come out, Arsenal have scored the most goals, Man City second. And then I heard somewhere, I think it was the same podcast, that Man City has a negative 2 goal difference in the last 15 minutes, and Arsenal has quite a lot of goals. I can't offhand remember the amount, but Man City on -2. You look at it two ways, they've already sorted the game out. So in the final burst of the game, they don't need to score that many goals. But there are obviously games where either they drew or they lost this season. And that's why they are second. So a fantastic goal from Ben White. Martinelli was excellent in the second half. Jesus was excellent. Most of the team was excellent. We controlled large passages of the game, and in that control, we were able to create loads of chances. And Martinelli from the left wing, pushing forward and getting the ball across the line of the box. Obviously, our number 9 was probably a little bit deeper, and that's where, out of the blue, we just saw Ben White appear on the TV screen. For those that, obviously, for the millions and millions that watched it on TV. 2-0 to Arsenal. Ben 10 out of 10. White probably becoming a bit of a cult hero at Arsenal, bit of a dodgy guy if you think about it, with all the tattoos. And they do say that he portrays a Love Island contestant. Not that I know what that is. And then Gabriel Jesus, third goal, a toe poke after some excellent work from Trossard. Once again, moments player at that particular time, had a bit of burst of energy, and boom, created an assist. That's his 7th assist already for Arsenal. He had 3 assists. Could have been two assists for Brighton. I think he's on 9 assists for the season. So already 7 assists at Arsenal, and he's only been here a couple of months. So what a buy. And then obviously the annoying switching off a little bit, allowing the opposition to come onto you a little bit. And then Christensen scored in the 76th minute for Leeds United. I thought it was 3 deflections, I said in my Monday review video. Catch that also on my YouTube channel. Monday review video, and I said that I felt there was 3 deflections, which on TV you can probably only see 2. So I didn't thumb suck that. There were 3 deflections. And then 84th minute, Granit Xhaka, 4th goal for club and country in 4 games. Phenomenal display from him. Once again, playing the left 8 role, and the right 8 assisted him. So it just shows you we are all over the place. Left side of the field, right side of the field. We're using those spaces effectively. Whereas early Arteta, it was using the... Just sort this mic out. Early Arteta, we tended to use either the left side too much or the right side too much in games. It became predictable. So that's something that I thought was very important for us to look at, the fact that we are able to attack spaces on both sides of the field. We've got Zinchenko on the left. Xhaka, he either tracks back and assists Zinchenko when Zinchenko pushes into midfield, or it is we've got so much ball that our centre-backs pushes up, and you've got the right wing-back and the left wing-back. They're basically playing like wing-backs. Let's say on the right-hand side, Ben White, he tends to move closer to where Saka is and Odegaard. So you've got that trident using all those spaces. So it's very confusing. The mere fact that it sounds confusing, me trying to explain it. Imagine the defenders when we get it right. And that is why I've watched quite a few podcasts where current players are on podcasts. I think it was the Rio Ferdinand podcast. I wouldn't hear or listen to that guy for longer than 10 seconds, but I saw a clip of a Newcastle United player, and obviously we had quite a tactical game against them in January where we drew 0-0, and this player said how impressed he was with Arsenal's technical ability as well as style of play within the system that we are playing. And he gave us, some big credit there. So sometimes we need to look, rather than following YouTubers that doesn't know shit, we need to look at what players have to say. So these YouTubers that's getting players onto their podcasts, we actually need to listen to the players and not the YouTubers, because they can talk a lot of nonsense. There's so many YouTubers out there that doesn't understand the tactical and technical side of the game, but they are fun to listen to. I'm one of them that listens to a lot of YouTubers, but the technical and tactical side of things, and that's where I come in. Not that I'm the best in the world. Well, I'm close to the best in the world when it comes to tactical analysis. But anyway, so Arsenal 4-1. after 84 minutes, and then I see Patrick Bamford got a late yellow card. These guys are annoying, man. This Leeds United. I did say that I do like them. I don't have any problems with them, but there's just times where teams are overly physical and it just doesn't seem like they get booked as much. It's actually funny how Arsenal got quite a lot of yellow cards in the first half of the season, and there's quite a few yellow cards in this calendar year so far for Arsenal. So well done to Arsenal on that. And then some stats: 6 shots on target from Arsenal. So that's actually lower than normal. 2 off target, 5 blocked shots, 67% ball. Going through these stats, I use 3 different sports apps to do my stats, and already I can see a different. Well, the possession stats is the same, and I think Sky is the same, and OneFootball is the same. But here's a couple of stats that's completely different. So how can you have different stats for a specific particular game? That's weird. Throw-ins, that I remember is right, and then obviously yellow cards is correct. Arsenal had more crosses, but only by 1, despite all the ball. And then counter-attack. So despite the fact that Arsenal were the dominant side, they actually had more counter-attacks because of Xhaka and, well, to some extent, Holding, mopping it up, as well as obviously Thomas Partey. And then obviously releasing the players, especially our wide players that has a bit of speed and tempo to them. And then obviously Jesus. So Arsenal had more counter-attack. So that's actually quite interesting. And then Arsenal had more goalkeeper saves. How weird is that? I actually would like to see that stats on quite a few of the games that we've had more than 65% ball. I think I'm going to analyze that on the next podcast. How many goalkeeper saves, that's Ramsdale, has there been in comparison with our possession? So that's actually quite a new and interesting stat that I've seen for the first time. That's live score. So 4-1 to Arsenal. I thought we were exceptional in the second half. I really don't want to delve too deep into why it is that we weren't at the races in the first 20 minutes, because then it comes across as excuses, and Arsenal has got a new thing: no excuses. So, no excuses for previous games, no excuses for injuries, no excuses for losses, and no excuses for difficult away trips to come. I think we should keep it that way. No excuses. Arsenal's team for the game: obviously, Aaron Ramsdale in goal. I thought he had a decent display. Obviously, very difficult with so little ball. But as I just discussed now with goalkeeper saves, he had 3 saves to make. So there's obviously a vital save somewhere along the line that he has to make. And that's probably because he's bored. So now he has to make it look like it's an exceptional save when it's actually just a normal save. Ben White, superb performance on the right side. Remember, if you look at that right side, completely different in the sense that Ben White, because Odegaard sometimes moves all across the middle in front of where Thomas Partey is, you will have a situation where there is very likely a left back and a centre back that's attracted to Jesus, meaning Trossard and Ben White as a one-on-one with the winger. So if that winger doesn't work hard, I'm referring to the opposition winger. So if that winger doesn't work hard, then Arsenal has a lot of overlaps. And that's the same on the left-hand side, because Zinchenko moves into the space behind Thomas Partey or in front of, and then Xhaka is high up the field, and then Martinelli is high up the field. So it's a whole confusing thing. And technically, we are much better. So that means that these guys have no space on the field. Well, there is space, but they can't get the ball because we are technically better. So we are creating loads of overload. So if you just think about it like a little bit of a picture there. We are creating overloads, and I feel that we can be a little bit more clinical. That's one thing we can be, even though 4-1 is already quite a big win. But yeah, so there was obviously cases where Ben White and Trossard was alone against Somerville because Firpo is busy helping Pascal Struik try and watch Odegaard and Jesus. Christensen was probably more assisting Roker with trying to get close to Thomas Partey and Xhaka, and it just didn't happen, unfortunately. And Jack Harrison, he and Luke Ayling had very bad games. Martinelli destroyed Luke Ayling. So from a tactical side of things, it was actually an exceptional second half performance from Arsenal, if you think about it like that. So there we go. It's actually quite interesting. And then There we go. 4-1 to the Arsenal. I think I'm already ready to move on to the ladies. There we go. Right. So this is a very, very exciting Women's Super League this season. Without having watched a single minute, if you're seeing this for the first time, you haven't watched the Women's Super League, look at this log. 3 points separates the top four. I think the fifth team, Aston Villa, has 30 points, so they're not really in it, with a few games to go. There's 22 games in the Women's Super League. There's 12 teams, 12 times 2 minus 2, 22 games. Yeah, so there is 6 games to go for Chelsea and Arsenal, and Man United and Man City both have 5 games each. Arsenal women defeated Manchester City women 2-1. The game played on Sunday afternoon, and thank you, Supersport, for showing it. I was able to record it and watch it. And despite a very busy weekend, load shedding, and loads of sport, I'm a sports analyst for rugby as well as cricket. So it was a bit crazy this weekend, but I eventually got to the game, and I thought Arsenal were exceptional in the second half. Let me just give Man City their due. They were fantastic in the first half. Arsenal obviously had a huge Champions League game and more injuries last week. So it was a little bit tricky in terms of the amount of games that's being played at this moment in time for the women. I feel that just due to the physiological nature of women, it's very difficult for them to, in such a short space of time, play all these games. So it is tricky for them, and I thought it was actually exceptional for Arsenal to end up winning the game. Arsenal's goal difference, due to, as I've previously mentioned, we have lost two of our key forward players, two of the world's top 5 best players, actually, Beth Mead and Viviane Miedema. They both had serious knee injuries and both in doubt for June's Women's World Cup. And it's been really tough. So even though plus 30 looks good, it's been really tough for Arsenal to score goals. They bought about 4 players, possibly 5, in January. So those players have had to be bedded in. Plus Arsenal had Champions League games, 2 quarterfinals, which they did well to beat Bayern Munich. And there we go. So I think part of those 2 draws and 2 losses has been due to the goal scoring situation. Arsenal tend to play quite well in all the games. So all 16 games they played relatively well. It was just the goal scoring issue in those 4 games where they dropped points. Man United, they've had a really good season, and they are Arsenal's next opponents. The game will be taking place at Man United's home ground, not Old Trafford. And it's been confirmed today that due to Arsenal's Champions League women's semi-final, which will be taking place at the Wolfsburg Arena, that is Wolfsburg's ladies team. They are currently second in the Bundesliga Frauen, so that means the women's Bundesliga. So, and Arsenal beat the top Bundesliga team in the quarterfinal. However, Arsenal did lose to Wolfsburg last season in the quarterfinal stage. So this season, the quarterfinal stage, they beat the team that was second last year. And last year they lost to the team that was first last year but second this year. So quite interesting. But basically there's a theme of Arsenal playing the top 2 teams in Germany, and they are good teams. So Arsenal comes up against Wolfsburg. They have 2 former Arsenal players in defense and attack. And it's going to be a very interesting game. And now here's where it gets a little bit tricky based on this log conditions, because Chelsea and Man City both have lower teams to play on that weekend. In fact, Chelsea would also have had their game moved because they are also in the Women's Champions League semi-final. They will be playing against the mighty Barcelona, one of the best teams in the history of women's football. So it's Chelsea, Barcelona in the other semi-final, very likely also on that Saturday, which means that Chelsea's game will probably also be moved. So there's an international break again. I've mentioned on my podcast that there's every now and then there's women's international breaks, and that is why there has been lots of knee breaks, knee ligament breaks, I should call it, or tears. But you get my drift. And because of all this load, physiologically, it's not possible for women to suddenly, in the last couple of years, play all these football games. They just cannot handle it. Even though all the leagues, you only have, let's say, 5, at most 6 tough teams in that league, whereas the other teams are a little bit easier to beat. It happens in all the European leagues. And same in Spain, same in France, same in Italy, as well as Germany and the Netherlands. You probably have 4, 5, 6 top teams, which means your other games are easier. However, when you combine difficult international games that you probably have two international games on an international break, and it's regularly happening. It's way more than the men. And then you've got a couple of tough league games to get ready for, and then you've got Europe, and all these leagues have cup competitions as well. In England, they have the Conti Cup, which is the League Cup, and they have the FA Cup, obviously. So just putting this into perspective, obviously, that's why I went on a little bit of a ramble. But Arsenal, obviously, clearly in a good position. They are playing Chelsea sometime in May, I think it is. It could be end of April. And they are playing Man United after the international break. Now, the game was scheduled for the 22nd. However, it's now taking place on Wednesday, the 19th. And I'm assuming, not having checked when the international games are, I'm assuming the teams are back from international break to be able to play that Wednesday. And hopefully, no more injuries. Arsenal have quite a few injuries at this stage. Our two key players, obviously, out long term. The captain is now injured as well, Kim Little, and our combative left back / left wing, Katie McCabe, Irish captain. She was in a moon boot after the Bayern Munich game. However, she came on. Well, she ended up starting, obviously with injections, and scored the winning goal against Man City on Sunday. So Arsenal, despite going 1-0 down in the first half against Manchester City Women, a team that they lost to a couple of weeks ago in a rearranged game played at the City's ground, not the Etihad, but their academy stadium where the women play. Arsenal were, I won't say poor, because I said all 16 games Arsenal were in it. It's just that they were profligate in front of goal. There's my favorite word. But anyway, Arsenal did win. They are now, due to goal difference, above Man City, and Arsenal have a game in hand. Arsenal's game in hand is against lowly Brighton away from home. So Arsenal are expected to win that. Arsenal are playing Man United in a huge game 3 days before an away Champions League semi-final. So I am a little bit concerned with the fact that the game is 3 days before the game, before the Champions League game, because it's a Champions League semi-final. You're 3 games away from winning the Women's Champions League for a second time. Arsenal women have won the Women's Champions League before. So it's a little bit concerning seeing the about an hour ago, seeing that the fixture is on the 19th, but it's the same for Chelsea. Both teams have quite a deep squad, so they should be able to handle it. But just based on Arsenal's first half against Man City, which could have been 3-0, that's how dominant Man City were. So it could have been around about 3-0. They were also a little bit wasteful in front of goal. So it could have been 3-0, and then Arsenal are on 35 points and Man City on 41. Really pushing for the league. So Arsenal do have to play Man United and Chelsea away from home in their last 6 games, and then the other 4 games are against lower opposition. So it's going to come down to those 2 games. Arsenal will win the league if they beat Chelsea and Man United away from home. And that's going to be similar for the men, that has to go to Anfield and the Etihad and St. James's Park to possibly win their first league in almost 2 decades. Next slide. The title race. So obviously there's been a couple of changes to the Mikel I Like Your Hair little screenshot that I've got there, and there is a fantastic statistical prediction of winning the league. Arsenal have a 56% chance of winning the league according to this screenshot. I don't think it's as simple as that. Every game is different. And we are 8 points clear with a game in hand. Manchester City host West Ham. And with West Ham picking up a little bit of form, they're not playing well, but results-wise, they are doing okay. But I can't see them getting anything at the Etihad. But they do have a team, of players that can be a little bit frustrating on the day. So it is possible for West Ham to create problems, but I can see City winning that one easy. Right at the top, they have Brighton and Hove and Albion, not Brighton, Hove and Albion, it's Brighton and Hove and Albion. The double and, a team that I like, by the way. That is still to be confirmed because of the FA Cup weekend. So where Arsenal play Southampton on the 21st, a Friday evening game for Arsenal. So for the world to see, hopefully we would have gotten something at Anfield. I won 3. I've predicted 1 point only. And then on the 16th against West Ham, the very West Ham I just spoke about now. So obviously if West Ham are going to be losing to Man City and Arsenal, then they are going to be in trouble in terms of their league position. So they probably need to win their next game, whoever that may be against. And then, yeah, so on that weekend of the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, Man City are playing on Saturday, the 22nd, against Sheffield United at Wembley. That's the FA Cup semi final. So obviously they can rotate a little bit. I'm assuming Haaland will probably be fit by then, but remember they've got Champions League commitments as well against Bayern Munich, the newly appointed Thomas Tuchel, who led Bayern Munich to top of the league in the Bundesliga this past Saturday. So, yeah, they're going to be quite. It's actually a bit of a concern because I feel, well, first of all, I rate Tuchel, and you're already in probably at two training sessions and already a big difference to the Bayern side that beat Dortmund. Even though Dortmund made mistakes, Dortmund were top of the Bundesliga. So with that tangent, even though it's a tangent, it's important for Arsenal that Manchester City goes through against Bayern. I still think they will. They've got the quality to do so, especially with Haaland up front, and I'm sure Haaland will be fit by then. So I'm confident that Man City will go through. I think it's trouble for us if they don't, because then they are fully focused because they would probably have gotten past Sheffield by then. So they're in the FA Cup final. They don't need to worry about that anymore. And if they're out of the Champions League, then they are going to be a bigger problem. So there we go. I see the fixtures from Arsenal onwards gives you a very nice acronym. You can figure that out for yourself. So maybe there's a little bit of a trick to this fixture list of theirs from Arsenal onwards until Brentford. So there's a good chance that Arsenal might win the league just based on that acronym. I'm not going to say it out loud because I'm a grown man. I'm not a child. Anyway, so Arsenal 3 losses only. Who were they against? The 3 losses was Everton. Yeah, so the 3 teams up north. We're playing up north again this Saturday. We lost to Everton away, Man City at home. I keep thinking about the Etihad's game. Remember, we've lost to these guys twice now already. It's time to change that. So we've lost to Man City at home, so only 1 loss at home. And then to Man United and Everton. So all North teams. We're going up north again on Sunday. So somewhere along the line, we need to start changing that. It's starting to get annoying now. Newcastle United up to 3rd. Well done to them. 19 goals conceded only. Fantastic defensive effort from them. So in our case, we've got Liverpool, West Ham away next 2 games. Remember, we've got a full week's rest, whereas at the time of this recording, it's almost time for Liverpool to kick off at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. So Liverpool are actually playing now. And we are putting our feet up. Obviously, difficult training sessions, I'm sure. And then obviously it tailors to less intensity as you get closer to the game. But just based on Arsenal's fixtures, with the fact that you can maybe say that even though Southampton will be fighting for their lives, West Ham will be fighting for their lives. From a technical and tactical perspective, that shouldn't take so much out of us, those 2 games. The Liverpool game definitely will. And then we've got the Man City game. So if it is that it doesn't go right, then we have to obviously bounce back against Chelsea. And then I'm concerned on the 6th of May. The concern is the fact that Newcastle United, that's attrition football when you play them at their place, and Man United couldn't cope with that. It's just they keep on coming, and they are solid defensively. Burn, Botman, Trippier, who's the right centre back? Burn, Botman, whoever that may be. There's another centre back that I'm missing. I don't know why, but they are solid at the back, as Man United can attest to from this last Sunday. So my thoughts, I think it's not 56%, 44% due to Arsenal's form up north. I think it's much closer than that. We need to, in my opinion, as I said in my Monday review show, we need to get 3 points rather than 2 draws, because 3 points is more than 2. And obviously, if it is 3 points at City, that's so much better because that's the team that we are fighting against. It's not going to be over because Arsenal can slip up in the games that's left. The ha-ha games. There, I said it. So the ha-ha games, Chelsea at home, Newcastle away, Brighton home, Nottingham Forest away, and Wolves at home. Last season, Arsenal got thumped at Anfield. Arsenal won 1-0, or no, it was 2-1 against West Ham. I think Bowen scored, and then I can't remember. I think two of our centre backs, yeah, Holding and Gabriel scored, I think, last season in a 2-1 win at West Ham. We beat Southampton 3-1 or 3-0 last season. We lost to City, third game of the season, 5-0. Xhaka got sent off. We lost to Chelsea, second game of last season, 2-0. Lukaku scored both, and then he didn't recover again after that. Then we lost away to Newcastle. We lost at home to Brighton. We lost away in the FA Cup because Nottingham Forest weren't in the league last season. And we won 1-0. Gabriel Magalhaes scored against Wolves. So tricky games. We've obviously dealt with teams that we struggled with this season up till now. That's why we've only lost 3 games, drawn 3. So yes, it looks positive, but there are still key things to sort out in the month of April. We were fantastic for 60 minutes against Leeds United. We need to be fantastic for 90 minutes at Anfield. If both teams play well, Arsenal should win, in my opinion, on Sunday. I've gone for a draw, and I'll obviously now preview Liverpool versus Arsenal. What a nice segue to the Liverpool Arsenal fixture. So this is I'm not going to lie to you. I've actually not watched live this fixture. Obviously, I watched this season's game live, but there's a reason why I haven't watched this game live. Arsenal seems to capitulate at Anfield. I think the last live game I watched was when Arteta played at. Well, I'm lying. I obviously watched some of the cup games that we played there. There was a game, Unai Emery's Carling Cup game there, that was like 5-4, where we played quite a strong team and lost to Liverpool's kids. They weren't interested in the Carling Cup or Carabao Cup, whatever they call it these days, and they still beat us. So it's been a bit of a nightmare at Anfield. If I can just look at the right side, thank you, StreamYard, for that little blockage over there, but I can still see. Obviously, Arsenal winning 3-2 at home. I've had people telling me that Arsenal had lucky decisions in that game. You just have to look at the chances that we didn't put away, and then we'll see who was lucky. But I thought Liverpool were fantastic. There was a 20-minute period where Arsenal couldn't get the ball off them because Thiago Alcantara really dominated the game. And I thought Nunes, who played off the shoulder, gave Saliba and Gabriel a lot of problems, and he also scored in the game. And obviously, I thought Liverpool's second goal was a fantastic goal. There's not much Arsenal could do. I think it was just a straight through ball, cutting our 2 defenders in half. And then Salah was kept quiet by Tomiyasu. I remember it was quite a genius tactic to have Tomiyasu playing at left back from Arteta, because I can't remember, I think Zinchenko was injured and Tierney was just on the bench. So this time around, Arsenal's injury list, Eddie Nketiah still has an ankle injury. There hasn't been any training images. Yeah, there's been no training images up till now. Probably going to see them tomorrow. So I'm assuming he is still short for this coming game. Takahiro Tomiyasu and Muhammad Al-Neni are both out with knee injuries for the rest of the season. And both of them might not make preseason. If I'm not mistaken, they might make preseason. Just remember, going back to the past, if you don't have a good preseason, Smith Rowe, one of them, then you struggle to get going in the season. So that's a little bit of a concern going into preseason. I know I shouldn't be thinking about that, but the futures of these individual players. El Neni has a contract extension, and Takahiro Tomiyasu has his 4th medium to long-term injury now since joining Arsenal. Fantastic player, but he's been playing injured since the World Cup, and he was not good at the Emirates Stadium when he played. Yeah, I think he was at fault for 2 of the 3 goals when we lost 3-1 to Man City. Saliba, news today that there's a strong chance that he won't make the Liverpool game. So obviously, knowing about injuries and back injuries and hamstring injuries, and it's very difficult, especially if it's nerve related, because sitting down, moving, he's obviously not been able to run or, well, maybe walk. We saw him at the Emirates and he obviously congratulated and hugged Gabriel as he came off. However, it's a situation where he could have a couple of injections and then it's okay. And then when he tries to train, then When he gets home, he can't walk because there's a hamstring, there's a glute, and lower back issue or mid back. So it's obviously we're not getting any news from Arsenal at this stage. I'm assuming Arteta will be speaking on Friday because the game is Sunday. So possibly Friday, unless the players have off on Friday and the media duties gets done on the Saturday. So I don't know when the media duties gets done, but I don't think William Saliba will be playing on Sunday unless there is some sort of horse injection that he can get. Not horse steroids because you can't use steroids. So just looking on the right slide once again, Arsenal lost 2-0 in the league at home to Liverpool last season. We actually played well in that game. I can remember Martinelli had a couple of chances, and it was also in that period where we had loads of games against them. Oh, the COVID games. I think that was it, where Liverpool didn't want to play. They apparently had so many COVID cases, and at that time they had loads of injuries as well as one or two COVID cases, so they didn't want to play. I think it might have been the second leg. And then when we did eventually play the second leg, then we had a load of players out and they ended up winning 2-0 and they went on to beat Chelsea in the final of the Carabao Cup. So, other than the 3 goals we scored this season, including the late winner from Saka this season, Arsenal haven't scored a goal against Liverpool. And that means no goals at Anfield. 0-0 draw. That is when Xhaka got sent off and Arsenal defended exceptionally. And we're going to maybe need to have that exceptional, that grit type of defending. And then obviously Arsenal played okay until Arteta had a bit of a spat with with Klopp, and Liverpool ended up battering Arsenal. I know before Liverpool even scored their first goal, Ramsdale had to make loads of saves. So yeah, we've got that in the locker, those type of performances. And then obviously 3-0, that was the league game, the second league game in the 2020-2021 season. Just from the injury and suspensions, I'm hoping to, in my podcast, have a little bit of a view from a Liverpool fan just to hear about these injuries. But I do know that Thiago and Luis Diaz are both in training, but they haven't. They are not going to play today's game, so they very likely could be held back for the Arsenal game. I'm not certain if Naby Keita, Bajcetic, or Ramsey. Not that Ramsey will play, or Bajcetic, or Keita for that matter. So those 3 injuries, they probably, even if fit, would have been on the bench. However, Thiago and Luis Diaz, they are exceptional players that can give Arsenal all sorts of problems if fit. They are fit, they are training, but I read somewhere that they will not be playing this coming Sunday. So just from my side, I always dread this fixture, the same with the Etihad. Unfortunately, I'm not confident, despite the fact that Arsenal's in their best form in quite some time. I don't know if we've had 7 wins in a row this season before. I'm going to have to look that up. But I've said in my previous podcast, and it's a little bit of an annoying thing for me personally, but when we go up north, I know there's a lot of teams north, mostly in the London side, but when you go up north, St. James's Park lost last season, have to go there this season. Etihad already lost the season in the league, in the FA Cup, even though you can look at the circumstances on that, and lost last season and the season before that. And it's not narrow losses, it's thumpings. Anfield thumped last season, and was it last season that we got thumped there? Yeah, we lost 4-0 in the league. I think it was December 2021. Lost at Old Trafford, even though we dominated the game. So, and Everton as well. So, even though there's a change in the team, we've had trouble up north, and we're going there again on Sunday. So that is why I don't want to quite call it a win. I thought Liverpool were awful from a defensive standpoint, from the shape, from the spaces that they allowed Man City to attack. And obviously, if they do play like that from a defensive standpoint, I know they can be good attacking it. Well, from an attacking perspective at home, they just beat Man United 7-0 the other day. They've only lost once. They drew with Palace. There was another draw or 2 in there, and then they've only lost to Leeds United so far. So I'm sure their concentration levels will be high, and they are playing tonight. So at the time of this recording, they're probably busy playing. I've got the game on pause, so I'm going to watch it now. And so I'm going to be interested to see the team because I haven't seen what their team is. And it's going to be interesting to see the way they play. They are away and they've struggled away from home. I've tipped them to draw tonight from a prediction standpoint. So I'm tipping them to draw tonight and on Sunday. So hopefully we don't lose. We don't want to lose this game and this City game. That's going to be probably a big determining factor because if we do lose the two, then that's a lot of pressure. I think it's then 2 points, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2 points with Man City having a game in hand. So we need to get points in these games. But I think we can do it. I think we're an exceptional team and I think we are still growing. I don't think we are where we need to be yet in terms of the finished article. There are other teams that's either the finished article or past their best, i.e., the team we're playing Sunday. So I think important that we win, but important that we don't lose. And that's the same for the Etihad. And then the other games we need to win. And then we will see armpits, meaning lifting the trophy. Upcoming shows. So on a Friday afternoon, I post the Gunning Truth podcast on Spotify and iTunes. So that's normally available between 3 and 4 p.m. I do record it on a Thursday evening, and hopefully I will have insight from a Liverpool guest. Obviously, that guest has to watch today's game, hopefully, and then obviously give me some feedback from a Liverpool perspective. I will never have Tottenham or Man United people on my podcast. You know them way there. And then on Sunday afternoon, off your game. So I do try to record that on a Saturday. That is with Josh and Ronnie. So Josh, the Liverpool fan. So we will obviously preview the Liverpool game and then look at the league in general. And then on Monday afternoon, it's my reaction video. So the last reaction video was the Leeds United game as well as the women's win over Man City. And then now I'm recording on a Tuesday evening. I do try to get on guests, but obviously life does come into play, and it's very difficult on a Tuesday evening to get guests. People have families and all that. So I will then record solo if there is no guests, and that show will then come over on a Wednesday afternoon, or I will just post it directly after I am done. So I hope you tune in. I hope you like the content. Like, subscribe. If you are watching it, even if you haven't got much time, but at least come in to give it a like and subscribe because I want to really start building this channel and obviously start getting guests in as well. So I will leave it there. So the next time you hear from me will be the podcast that I will be posting on Friday afternoon, where I will be able to delve deeper into the starting lineups for Sunday because we'll know a little bit more with Arsenal probably having some bits of information as well as training pictures. So hopefully no other issues. And then I'll be able to deep dive into the Liverpool game on my podcast on Friday. And then with a Liverpool fan on Sunday, I will be looking into that Liverpool game. Up the Arsenal. And I think we can do this, people. I think we can do this.